2016. It's the 20th anniversary of Pokemon, and for many fans, this would be the year that dreams came true. A new generation was launching in November with Sun and Moon, you could finally hunt and catch your favorites in real life with Pokemon Go, and the highly anticipated arcade fighting game Pokken Tournament would be making its way onto home consoles. Would this year of fulfilled dreams live up to its potential? Good morning everybody, good morning, it's JPR and welcome back to another video. So, as I'm sure you already know, when it comes to those big 2016 titles, Pokken Tournament was the only one that didn't make as big of a splash as people anticipated. Today I'm going to break down the complete history of Pokken Tournament, from reveal to arcade to launch and beyond, and ultimately solving the question, what happened to Pokken? Pokken was first teased in May 2014 with a cryptic transmission featuring Lucario and Blaziken briefly playing during an advertisement of a Japanese game show. It wouldn't be until over a full year later when Pokken was finally released in Japanese arcades. Needless to say, people were incredibly excited as a Pokemon fighting game seemed like an obvious moneymaker for years up till this point. So much so that former animators and artists from the actual Pokemon anime ended up making their own fan game called Pokemon Type Wild, a more Street Fighter-like PC game that many fans hoped would become official one day. Although that never ended up happening, Pokken seemed like more than a suitable replacement, or even a spiritual successor in a way. It seemed like the Pokken devs were aware of Type Wild's existence too, as many noted some similar move animations between the two games, and that their roster shared many of the same Pokemon. On that note, while the game is called Pokken, obviously trying to mimic the style of combat from the Tekken series, also owned by Bandai Namco, it's really more of a mismatch of the 2D Tekken-like combat and 3D arena-style combat, like you'd find in Naruto Ninja Storm, My Hero 1's Justice, or, dare I even speak its name, Jump Force. This certainly made Pokken a unique experience, combining two completely different styles of combat into one game, something that hardly any major fighting game titles had attempted over the years. From the start, this split public opinion quite a bit. Some people liked the idea of changing combat styles mid-match, and others thought the game could have benefited from a more streamlined approach that cut out the relatively unimportant 3D arena style. Despite these concerns, Pokken enjoyed quite a bit of spotlight during its launch in Japanese arcades in mid-2015. And not soon afterward, it was confirmed that the game would be ported to the Wii U as many had expected. But even before the game hit consoles, some concerning news began to roll out, as Pokken proved to be largely unpopular and unprofitable in arcades, and the machines were removed from some locations before 2015 was even over. Similar news came out from Dave & Buster's in the United States, with some reporters saying that the Pokken machines resembled, quote, a ghost town. I remember hearing about this news when the Pokken hype was still climbing, and it caught me by surprise. With how much demand there was for a true Pokemon fighting game, I imagine people would be tearing down the arcade doors for a chance to play it early. But many speculated that this was due to the game's looming release on Wii U. Perhaps many players didn't feel it necessary to travel to arcades to play it when they'd only have to wait a few more months to have it at home. And so, March 2016 finally arrives. Nearly 2 years after Pokken's initial reveal, it's finally made its way into people's homes. It's worth noting that since the models and animations for this game are incredibly detailed, the Wii U version did need a few downgrades compared to the arcade. The textures are a little muddier, the background characters and movements look incredibly scuffed, and the game can only reach 30 frames per second when doing multiplayer on the same console, but none of these were deal breakers, I would say. For the most part, the game transitioned just fine onto Wii U consoles. You could even buy the official Hori pad used in the arcades to play with at home. Fun fact, I bought the Pikachu edition 5 years ago, and it's still in the box. I was hoping this baby would age like some fine first edition Pokemon cards. I was a little off on that prediction, and now it's just taking up shelf space. But Pokken opened to a pretty solid launch on the Wii U, selling just over 1 million copies, making it the 20th most popular Wii U title. Nothing crazy, but still pretty good considering the Wii U's abnormally low numbers. And the rumblings that Nintendo's next console, the NX, would be revealed by the end of the year, soon making the Wii U obsolete. The NX is the Switch, by the way. I just realized that maybe not everyone knew that. The game sold well, the first few major tournaments had hundreds of entrants, and Nintendo even sponsored a few events, which is more than they've ever done for the considerably more popular Super Smash Bros. Series, so clearly everyone had a lot of faith that this game would be sticking around. In August 2016, the small Pokken Invitational from the previous year was upgraded to a fully realized competition as part of the Pokemon World Championships, making it the first game to be featured alongside the core series and the trading card game. But soon after that World Championships ended, it was clear that interest in Pokken was beginning to wane a bit. This could have been due to a number of factors. The very small roster of only 16 fighters without any new DLC releasing may have made the game feel shallow to many competitive players. Sure, there are games like Melee where realistically less than half of the roster, around 8 to 10 characters, are competitively viable, but it more than makes up for it with its seemingly bottomless ocean of technical gameplay and ever-evolving strategy, something that few other fighting games today have. Additionally, with the game featuring 2 completely different styles of combat plus additional movesets for most Pokemon that go into burst mode, the game probably seemed far too overwhelming for more casual audiences, who, again, are more likely to stick to easier to play games like Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. Pokken just kinda sits in this awkward middle ground of not having enough precision and constant updates to satisfy competitive players, but too high a bar of entry for casuals. That's not to say that the competitive scene just died overnight though. There's actually another video here on YouTube by Action Esports that goes much further into the competitive side of things than this video does, so if you haven't seen it, I highly advise you to check it out. It's a great video. Pokken certainly kept up a strong, loyal fanbase of competitive players over the years, although its time in the mainstream spotlight was fleeting. But Nintendo and Bandai weren't ready to throw in the towel just yet. In June 2016, it was revealed that Pokken would be one of the first Wii U titles to make the jump to the newly released Nintendo Switch, which out the gate appeared to be a much more promising console than the dying Wii U. But even on the Switch, a console that managed to sell 7 times better than the Wii U, Pokken only experienced a 38% jump in sales. Compare this to other ported Wii U games like New Super Mario Bros. U, which doubled the 10 million sales, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which quadrupled its sales on Switch, Pikmin 3, Captain Toad, Mario 3D World. All of these ports performed so much better than Pokken did. Pretty much everything except Hyrule Warriors. No, I am not making a What Happened to Hyrule Warriors video. Sadly, Pokken just seemed like the one ported game that ironically was made worse for the Switch than the Wii U. The game did add 7 new characters, but this mostly boiled down to local multiplayer. On the Wii U, it was kinda neat because one person could play on the gamepad and the other person could use the monitor. But on Switch, if you're not using 2 consoles connected over LAN, it's not even worth doing multiplayer. Either you play with this ludicrously small split screen that looks worse than the sidebars on a 2010 Pokemon Let's Play, or one person just has to resign themselves to play the game backwards from the other person's perspective. Remember, this would be fine if the game was just 2D Tekken style, but it really sucks for the other person on the 3D arena part. Maybe if the game just had an option to remove field phase entirely, it could have worked on Switch. The reason why local multiplayer is such an important aspect of the game is the local competitive scenes. Way back in the day, and I mean like 2 to 6 years ago, I actually used to be a competitive Smash Bros. Player and the head tournament organizer for my college. Getting enough people just to bring Wii U's and Switches for tournaments to run smoothly was a difficult task in itself, but because the game can be played all on one console, things usually worked out well in the end. For many of you watching, I'm sure that split screen and 30 FPS nonsense probably doesn't matter to you at all, but let me assure you that to competitive players, they want the optimal experience. Having to bring 2 separate Wii U's or Switches just to play Pokken in its best state is a local TO's worst nightmare. I firmly believe that one of the reasons the competitive Smash's presence is everlasting is because of how strong the grassroots local scenes are. With Pokken, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company could throw all the money in the world at the big tournaments, but it still wouldn't matter if your average Joes can't play the game with their buddies on a Friday night. You can't build a skyscraper on a lousy foundation. But that's why the players might not be interested as time goes on. As for the devs, it's clear that they put a lot of passion, effort, and money into this game, only to see it not get massive returns on 3 separate occasions. Ironically enough, of the 3 launches, the Wii U one was probably their best. The Switch version may have sold marginally better, but let's be real, if you're a big budget fighting game attached to the Pokemon IP on one of Nintendo's most popular consoles and you still don't crack 2 million sales, then the writing is already on the wall. The Pokken scene, even today, is far from dead though. There still exists a few major tournaments, and right smack in the middle of me making this video, the 2022 Pokken World Championship Series was announced. I really appreciate the great timing, guys. So, Pokken is most definitely still kicking, and most importantly has the support of a major company. But by the last World Championships in 2019, it considerably lagged behind the core series and trading card game in terms of popularity and viewership. Even the event staff seemed more enamored with the bare-bones Pokemon Go PvP battles than Pokken itself. So it really makes me wonder if the Pokemon Company will continue to keep Pokken around much longer, with popularity steadily decreasing and it just not selling many copies at the current moment. Earlier this year, one of the game's producers, Mr. Harada, was asked by a fan if he would consider making a sequel to Pokken. He simply responded by saying that he was open to the idea, but ultimately the ball is in Nintendo and the Pokemon Company's court. Bandai Namco can't simply make the game and release it if nobody on the other side tells them to. Production on Pokken Tournament Deluxe officially wrapped in the summer of 2018, with the game not receiving any patches since. If 3 whole years have passed and Nintendo still hasn't greenlit the project, I'd say the odds of another Pokken in the near future are rather slim. It's a real shame. I know that in this video we picked apart many of Pokken's minor flaws that added up over time, but ultimately I'd still say it's a fun game, and undoubtedly one that still has huge potential. I think if they streamlined the gameplay a little more, had a more focused release instead of 3 little ones, and added many new characters with the promise of continuous DLC, Pokken 2 could still be a massive success. But maybe for now, it's best that we let Pokken rest for a few years before we dig up its grave for a few extra bucks. I'm willing to bet that as the years go by, people will look back on Pokken more fondly, and demand for a sequel will grow, similar to Pokemon Snap or Mystery Dungeon. It may not be anytime soon, but I do think that one day, we will see Pokken again. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed that video. It had been a while since the last What Happened To video, so I hope the wait was worth it. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe for future videos like this one if you haven't already. I'll see you guys next time.